Welcome back, guys. My name is Jerome Adrian Batas, or also known as J.A. Batas. I'm the Wattpad author of the epic fantasy series The Archipelago, featuring the first book, Blood and Gold. If you wanted to read the book, the link is in the description. Chapter 6. In the Perspective of Jarvis Glorygon, entitled Eye of the Summit. The gentle winds of the night blew the current dance of the ambience. Their horses are drawn to a stand at the cast of the shadow from the trees, gazing at the hours of darkness. The stopping place wasn't that occupied, such for the time the hooves travel late, tearing up the miles, late from noontime to twilight. The only route that anyone can get to the Summit's Eye Castle. There they can see the majestic creature laying down near the edge of the cliff, named Agarus. The massive red condor decree its body on the small grass in the comfort of rest. By the wings she retains for a passenger will fly as high as they lead someone the way to the castle of Samitai, the only one that carries a many to the fortification of royalty. It was the order of the queen not to populate the castle full of giant birds surrounds it like many years ago, of Queen Sandry Clanel of House Clanel, died for an unknown reason. When the castle is erected, the winds are crowded since they use these magnificent creatures as their bond servant rather than the guardian of the crater mist forest. They are tamed for loyalty, flying back and forth to usher the lords and ladies, or the persons with high titles and peasants, servants, to the castle carried by a mighty god visible on the range of domain. They stand in need of a cross route separating the land and the castle bordered by a circular lake. The queen loved it. The airman, Gregory, one and the only man that welcomed the title, the curse in the combination of the creature's blood. At the mount of the night, Gregory sleeping on his thick pile of banana leaves, looking like a monkey alongside a pile of fruits, and the majestic bird also slept by the grass. They're sleeping, and still intact his black tippet, jerkins, brown pantaloons, and a nightcap. He's sleeping, Sir Ackley whispered, peering from the wagon he sat. What do you want me to do? Then wake him up, then, Lord Jarvis commanded him. Getting out of the golden cargo, he pierces his sollerets onto the dirt, approaching the man soaked into his slumber. He got out of together, followed by the others, except for the horse rider, wheeling up after them, leaving them from the course of their journey. Walking towards the moon that shines it all on the night skyline, they saw the pilot sleeping, reclining. Facing up the sky, he slept snoring. Jarvis kicking him twice on his left elbow to get going for his duty, needed in time. He was not responding, still nostril sounding and snoring. Hey, wake up, and fly us to the castle, Lord Jarvis, the High Lord shouted to Gregory. He was puzzled. Up to his waking, he's still reminiscing his dreams. He sat up. Scratching his hair seems to be full of ants eating his burnt umber hair, looking like a chocolate. Sorry, sir. I need to get some sleep. I will do my duty for you no matter what. How many are you gonna go to Summit's Eye Castle, sir? In hesitation of the presence of an underlying duty punishment, he keeps nodding and bowing rapidly. A serious apology is stacked in front of them in assurance to think they will do him no harm. Who cares? Wake your pet up and bring us to the pinnacle. We needed the king's word right now, Lord Jarvis said, and the three others laughing at him, looking poor. On his feet, seemingly going to hell for leather, fixing up the massive saddle like fabric for the brief travel through the air, by way of to the grand folkloric castle built and sculpted 1,000 years ago, together with the statue where its recumbent erected, affording a view of almost entirely the whole realm that glisten is grandeur. Riding the massive fabulous chirping creature, it wiggles on its feather the majesty she possesses. Its eyes, golden, beak flaring, and a tip of the chirp razor edge as a newly smithed hook. Feathers of its wings feeling and singing soft for instance of a bed. This is so great, Sheriff Navarrete. The half-man gushed while riding the majestic flying creature. They all smirked. Perhaps he never rode to Summit's Eye and mounted on such a massive creature before. It is, But I know for the fact that everyone that cares about the king's word will always ride the beast at any time. You're so astonished that you don't even know me or the living we're riding. The flap of its red wings waving the wind like an extensive agitating flag, Lady Ravina said to him. Blasting the range of the night, it trembles the cold wind like a hurricane, and not a mile long, but the vast view of the fountain, lake, and the depth of below surrounds the graven sculpture is dizzying. May I ask what your intentions, lords and ladies, since such time that you all been gathered by the Grace himself? Gregory asked. It wasn't on your business, Gregory, Lord Jarvis said, shards of irritation coming from his mouth. Gregory, whom left his birthed house to serve the realm, just nods to not bring any heat of the night cold moment. Well then I'm giving a wing and letting out a leafless wishes for him, he thought. Rumors have dealt to wonder if the gap is compact. The reason why there is a stupendous bird as transportation has conferred their answers. It's tremendously large compared to what they say. The distance between the elevated structure and the flight range to 200 yards across. Speed as it gets, it's near, getting bigger, waking up their pupils. Then there they saw the warm fountain sheds the border, soaking the statue below, gazing at the moonshine of the starry night like a million eyes glowing above the gale. There they see no drawbridge on the castle, nor portcullis can be seen. Battlements are evident beside the fountain hanging on the rocks. The keep where the throne is settled in front of the lion-painted concrete bailey at the medium. They fly by below the breathtaking scenery. Night silent, but the slush of the water keeping the guards awake, including all corner towers having the same waterfall for any threatening remarks. The keep, huge. The pointy end of the castle make it look like a real figment of imagination. The fly of its feather is coming in slow, dropping the altitude towards the inner bailey in front of the keep. There stands the captain of the castle guards, Sir Malik Nirosus, with his glowing silver armor plates, and sharp as the sword on his grip, standing at the top of the fortress on an onlook. Lord Jarvis Baroness, his wife, Lady Nairda Gloregon of family Gereville, up ahead the door, blooming like a flower on her violet dress. She married Jarvis at the moment he's crowned to be the Baron of the Castle Summit's Eye. Waves of wind diversified with sand when she see the massive condor touch down. The claws were hidden, wings folded, head down to make a stair-like path for the voyagers of the castle leading to the keep's door. Blowing wide, the keep's door where the king was still awake, munching his smoked turkey and drinking wines, making out to see he still sit on the throne, made out of chiseled lions as his armrest, golden spindle of a lion's fur, and cresting rail what happens to be a fierce chop of a lion's head, covered in glittering gold, showing the pride of a fighter, a valor of a spirit of a true king. Sigil of a lion's head fierce before the bite, finishing the Clanels bloodthirsty. The king he sat, having the view of the small bridge connected on two grounds before his seat. There are fire on either side, rooted on an iron cauldron, having the intention of making a bridge between a gap of 40 feet, making it safe to not fall in the heap of rushing water before the great hall and the throne room. Not a sputter in the wake of the statue of their god's mouth, plummeting to the rocky river below the castle. Gorgeous structure, they see. From inside out it glistened like a glorious ring. Close to midnight thus King Webster Clanel eating still on his black gabardine sued with yellow lion roaring on the vanguard, taking pleasure with all his feast, with his sister, Princess Savrina Clanel of Castle Samitai, the only female of the Clanel siblings. Her other brother, the second born, Arthurus Clanel, already slept in his private room near the constable. And there they see Savrina standing beside his king brother, in her night bullet, light blue alb, and a décolleté showing cleavage of her breast. A gorgeous princess that closest to resemble her grandmother, a queen heir by the looks. Bring me more wine, Savrina, King Webster said. Your Grace. Savrina, the king's sister, mumbled before the undoubtedly loud shout she got. The candle clock will be turned over by midnight. Your brother king. Mother told us. And she got interrupted. Can you shut your damn mouth and obey my words? If I told you once, don't dwindle twice. Just fucking grab me a drink on the kitchen, said him. He stood with an aggressive jest with a sway of cape, walking towards her sister seems to be badly off, faulty, dirtily consoled. He chuckled underneath his uncrowned in a burst, lustful laughter moving his chin. Sways his short boxed beard, gathered his anticipation to slap the butt of the princess behind her golden smock after the time she turned around to grab some drink he commanded. Fixing one's gaze, the princess full of distress and anger on her face, not making to fix her crossness hiding inside her voice. On her blushed cheeks not any more of her emotion can be locked in, interrupted the waves of the anger of the opening throne room wooden door. The chief castle guard rushed into the chamber, making both of them turn to the keep's door to catch the sight of what's the concern. Your Grace, someone wants to meet you, Sir Malik said. He reported to Kim Webster. Get me some wine and smoked a turkey for the guest, Sabrina. Prepare it fresh for us. Hurry the fuck up, he commanded with a sigh of irritation still. A tradition where someone grants a right to enter the throne, and will be granting back a feast as they go. Thusly turning his head back, heated on his kingly dominion golden seat of power. There are four of them made their way to the sweet-scented, dim throne room, still in a good frame of themselves beside it's at the vicinity of the chilling midnight. Fuck it. Just make way for them, all of you. Take a seat on the table and wait for the foods while we talk. Stop wasting my time again, will you? It's fucking midnight and I'm ready to sleep. What's the joke now? Though it may seem strange, even so the table in front of him looking like a dinner table. Neat, long, rectangular on a purpose for the seat of the nobles and councils, with a readily placed ink and quill on top. The heavenly light shines the curvature of a star. The creaks of the chairs echo the entire high ceiling. Not long but the report is needed, indeed, to be known by the king. Four ravens atop of a black lion catching the prey they score around. Bowed as the king walks with his wine on the hand, ready to sleep, and he exploded. Apologies, your grace, we need a word from you, Lady Ravina, the queenly rage ravaging stated, nods and smiled. I guess so. I guess I will just take a word from a woman, not the three of these, you know that. Then why did you end up with these three? I will gladly take a word from you rather than them. What do these boys want? King Webster charmed by her glamorous dress of dark blue. From toe to face he gazes at the smooth skin behind her loose armlet and leglet. He inflicted with a sense of romantic disgust, she felt. The king must have been the liking of the lady's stunning exquisiteness. The royal man roars. A waft of fright they look at him, feeling pity. Sheriff Navarrete took down a peg or two by his clothes he's using, similar to Gregory's but a fashionable one. A brown caftan and a jerkin size as small for his body. Your Grace, we apologize on behalf of us for being behind the clock. I know that it's time to sleep, but we're under a compulsion to take a word for the witness this day. Before noon, as we take charge to the island's sentry duties, Lord Jarvis announced. He sighed on his tired breath. Their late travel through the king's citadel for miles and hours long, making him more somnolent. The king bleated, sipping his wine on the seats with them as he stares and speaks deep like an undead man. Then he halted. Freshly prepared dark meat turkey and grape wine has arrived, brought nicely and quick as what he was told. Not making an eye contact, she flew by with a smile without any worries for the nobles. Thank you, Sabrina, for it's quick of you, not being silly in front of the high lords and a lady like you. Good girl. Now get to your room, you don't need to hear this. Now what's the main reason you're here? Speak up and make it fast. Go ahead. They're not yet eating before the report has been settled. Took so long for them as if they're just staring at each other. Your Grace, the island of Marcaine is depredated. Forenoon we took to the vessels to make the rounds of the coast together with our soldiers. That's why I take in Sir Ackley as one of the spectators of the incident. A watercraft of quick-witted Alothea's men belowed themselves that the islands we take part on are their dependency, their only reason of taking our resources. Lord Jarvis recited in the guise of the king, affixed him before his pale eyes. Taking our resources. How did you say so? King Webster asked. The graceful him faltered asking, bringing his eyebrows higher than the other, terrified what to say, contemplated another. The sheriff, still on his pity feeling surrounds a lot of high people, permitted to speak just as the moment King permitted to beyond a nod. Everyone can speak, taking a bite of the meat, juices coming out, dripping to his beard. I wasn't on any part of the chase, I'm being guilty to say the least, your grace. I'm only at the ballast and stores taking care of the golds and spices we own. I only remember one thing that Lord Jarvis commanded us. He told me, he then interrupted by Sir Ackley. Told us to follow them. So we did, Sir Ackley said, and he continued. As a chief of an army, I took charge of the sail for us to become aware of what the rivals are anticipating for. Right then, I was faultless. The harpoons, the arrows striking the waters, and found out the fishes' golds are in their compartment of the boat, your grace. A lot of them. The sheriff not any more of the interest the moment he got interrupted by Sir Ackley at his turn. He was shocked as if the king never expected the captain thwarted a sheriff like one swift. Sir Ackley avowed with pride and truth speaking out of his mouth, reiterating the voice he concluded, and sipped his wine. He glowered from his chest the annoyance. His silver hard chest cloth shone like a smothered plate. You're being a bitch, aren't you? Are you that kind of a person to cut off someone's words? The king's teeth sipped onto the bottom lip, turning his head for the young man, ignoring the dense attitude of Sir Ackley, a chief archer whose title to be a part of a royal army is not anywhere near a royal way of thinking. Continue, Sheriff. What do we expect on your report? King Webster said. Lord Jarvis commanded us to follow their trail, Sheriff Navarrete concluded. Not a single motion and emotion. King Webster threw himself back in his seat, reclaiming his thoughts. Dripping with perspiration, he said, same as his drifting confident hands laying waste above the belt. He was nervous. It'd have gotten much better if he must know more about the hidden reports inside his mouth. But perhaps the night can contain the weakness that's already been consumed. I remember heard that they got much gold, aren't they? King Webster said, talking to Sir Ackley within a sharply pointed tone at the time he's eating. The king does not seem to see his image, same as it was before. Yes, your grace, Sir Ackley said. At what place did you stop? King Webster replied, and then Sir Ackley. Before Antonine, your grace. There was nothing but the sheriff noisy eating and drinking after his statement. Lady Rowena never ate a single thing, come into possession of drawing the attention to the lady. I know it's late, but if I must command it, follow it. Go ahead and eat, my lady. It was never a struggle. She obeyed the king and indulged in the sweet juice from the meat itself. They did what the king said and slew the smoking turkey in front of them, gulping the glass they had on their hand. No more stew by that time. Silence folded. The sound of water gushing can be heard below while they eat. The small circle never ate despite much food preserved earlier in the golden wagon where they once tripped onto, locking the council standing at the vanguard, swerving trees and towers summit by winds of night beyond the windows, throwing shadows to the floor. Not for long they eat still. What do we need to do? Granted, halted hence thou devour, King Webster whispered, and in a tone of high voice he continued, we need to do something. Something that may shed blood, ours or them. Bring me an empty note, Lady Ravinia, as one of the councils. Take the ink and quill and write what I told you. Great Hall should be tomorrow. Then go ahead, he said while he chewed. All of a sudden, the king with his pale eyes recast like a heat of chaos had blinking on his mind. An intention to bring one's life to risk, snapped by two. Soldier of the King's Guard, Ragaric Ranel of the castle Samitai, up to this time true-hearted on his heavy armor. Steady face, he brought one to him, laying it flat on the throne room, lone table. Lady Ravinia, on her humbleness, accepted the simple order from the king. His words were, "By the grace of the King Orbitaris, Webster Clanel of Summit's Eye." Taken an account by which I included Lady Ravinia of the Grand Council, Lord Jarvis Glorigon, the Baron of the King, Sir Ackley of the Arrows, and Navarrete the Sheriff. The great high force we command you to set sail on the island by which the rivals have partaken. Fear shall be hidden on the sleeves. Roar your might and gather everything your forces can bring to. Men and women of arms thus far equipped by strength and spirit of the knights, and archers open to die. We will bring back what's ours in a blink of an eye. May the prudent prosperity of your assumption be the strength of you forever. End of the note. Put my name at the bottom and hand me the letter, King Webster said, and signed above the line of assurance an acceptance of one's untouchable request, waxed on a candle with the seal of a lion, standing up of the seats as he commanded unto a sign of his hand. Sir Ackley, before you step foot to the barracks, hand this to a messenger by a flight from here to the soldiers of the front. Thereby the castle has carrier pigeons, which cost more but they know where shit will take. Before they left, Lady Ravinia of the council remains. Lord Jarvis gave her the letter of the inspector. Taking charge of the law is one of their duty on hand. Your Grace, a letter from the inspector, Lady Ravinia, handing the letter to King Webster, and said, Inspector who? He replied. We didn't check, Lady Ravinia said. Leave it to Ackley. I don't have time for that. Tell them to sleep along with the great castle or wherever the fuck you want, after giving it to the pigeons. Go, he said. Lady Ravinia bowed in favor of the typical kingdom eminence in the fact that the aroma of the wine of the king's wine suddenly turned pale, the smell of discourtesy. The throne castle's empty by midnight. There got another check and signed paper to collect, to signify an important quest upon date of successful accordance with the orders. The king chose to not touch the letter he was being given, and just let the wine drown him by his negligence.